What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Thursday edition of the show, where we have a lot of Tennessee football to talk about once again. Tennessee's got a very favorable matchup this weekend against the UAB Blazers, but I also want to shine some light on how impressive Tennessee has been to this point, 25% of the way through the season, and just how far they have succeeded expectations throughout us as Tennessee fans and through the whole country. They're gaining a lot of national recognition, especially after playing Georgia all the way down to the wire this past weekend. Obviously, a very unfortunate loss, but still a great game at that. And just shine some light on how impressive Josh Heupel as a coach, Joey Aguilar, and the rest of this team has been, again, through 25% of the way through the season. But before we get into any of that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, share it. All of that is greatly appreciated. So we'll start with the game this Saturday. Again, like I said, a very favorable matchup, one that Tennessee should have their backups in after halftime at that. But UAB comes into Neyland Stadium at 12:45 this Saturday. UAB is 2-1 on the season, with their only loss coming to Navy. And Tennessee, like I said, very favored in this one. They are favored by 39.5 to be exact. So quite the spread there. Tennessee, the over-under, let's see what is it. It is 68.5. So Tennessee is favored to score a lot of points in this one and beat up on UAB. It's one of those games where you're going to beat up on UAB. Maybe not the most interesting, but UAB is going to come collect a big check at Neyland Stadium this weekend. Not as exciting as a Georgia or a Mississippi State next weekend, or an Arkansas the game after that, but it's the ones you've got to play. What do you want to see out of this game? Everybody come out healthy. If Tennessee comes out slow, I'm not even going to look too much into it, because I know what we look like versus a good team now that what we saw this past weekend against Georgia. But just come out of this game with everybody healthy. I'm interested to see who's going to play, if David Sanders is going to get some run. You may know that by the time you're watching this, but that at the time of this recording, David Sanders, Jerron McCoy, I doubt would play. I don't think Ricky Gibson's going to play. Maybe David Hobbs, all those guys. Not too sure on all of that. I maybe David Sanders, but I'm not sure again. So, again, you may know by the time you're watching this video, but at the time of this recording, we don't know. And just everybody get out of that game healthy, because you've got a lot of a very important football on the horizon. Like I said, you travel to Stark Vegas to face Mississippi State, and it's not just the regular Mississippi State team. You know, the last few years, Mississippi State has been able to get beat up on. We drilled Mississippi State last year. They weren't very good at all last year. Not saying that they're some world beater this year, but they did beat Arizona State, a team that is coming off of an appearance in the college football playoffs. Sam Leavitt is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Jordan Tyson, in my opinion, will be the number one wide receiver taken in this year's draft. So Arizona State is definitely a talented team, a very well-coached team with Kenny Dillingham. But they're still at the bottom of the SEC, and I think that just goes to show how impressive the SEC is. I'm the most pro-SEC person that there is. If you watch this show often, you know that I think that the SEC is far ahead of any other conference inside of college football. So you've got Mississippi State, but then that's where it starts to get real. You get a bye week, you get some time off, and Arkansas comes into town. A revenge game. Taylor Green has been playing as good as anybody in the country. They are coming off of a tough loss against Ole Miss, who's also a very good team, but Taylor Green, Taylor Green is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Arkansas's offense as a whole is one of the more explosive offenses in the country. They lost a little bit of production from last year's team, notably Isaac Tesla, their best receiver. But like I said, a big revenge game. I think Tennessee's going to win that one. But then you've got Alabama, Kentucky, who you'll beat up on your little brother for that one, and then Oklahoma. And Oklahoma has the best quarterback in the country, and John Mateer. So there's a lot of big-time football to be played in the next few weeks. You've just got to come out of this game against UAB fully healthy, don't open up the playbook too much, and just get out of this one as healthy as possible and expect a big win in Neyland on Saturday. We just talked about Arkansas. We just talked about John Mateer. We talked about Joey Aguilar, all those guys. And now I'm going to touch on how impressive Tennessee has been through 1/4 of the season and how much they've exceeded expectations to this point. Josh Pate, who is, in my opinion, him and JD PicKale are the two best, I guess you'd say, content creators, talk show hosts for college football and mainly the SEC. Josh Pate has had a preseason top 10 SEC quarterback rankings. He soon realized how inaccurate that was, especially, again, as we're getting through the beginning of the season. He had DJ Lagway at 1, Arch Manning at 2, and a lot of people did, so that's not crazy to say. But neither of those guys look good by any stretch of the imagination. DJ Lagway coming off a horrendous performance against LSU, at LSU, granted, but still 5 turnovers, 5 interceptions that were all your fault. Not a lot that can cover that up. There's not much reasoning behind that one. And then, excuse me, Arch Manning, man, I'm very team Arch Manning. I thought that he was going to be very good coming into the year. After the Ohio State game, he got a lot of hate, and I was very much on the side of it's his first real start against a real opponent, and he had to go to the defending national champions. Let's cut him some slack. But, man, I watched some of that UTEP game this past weekend, and Arch Manning looks like he is holding back the Texas offense. So Josh Pate went ahead and redid his SEC quarterback rankings, and he's got our guy, Joey Aguilar, at 3. I'll go through these rankings right here. John Mateer at 1, Taylon Green at 2, Joey Aguilar at 3, Bo Prabula at 4, the quarterback for Mizzou, transfer from Penn State, Gunnar Stockton, which I think is very warranted, Marcel Reed at 6, Diego Pavia at 7, Ty Simpson at 8, Garrett Nussmeier at 9, Lenore Sellers is 10. So just a quick go-through of all that. I'm not going to give a whole summary on all these guys. John Mateer is the best quarterback in the country. I tried to tell you guys that coming into this year. Taylon Green, another guy, just another year in the system at Arkansas, came from Boise State 2 years ago, has all the tools, all to put it together, 6'5", can move, has a cannon. Taylon Green is a very, very good quarterback. Joey Aguilar, I'll talk more about him after this. Bo Prabula, there's a lot of people, and Josh Pate talked about this on his show yesterday. I guess it was 2 days ago now for you guys watching, but there's a lot of people, necessarily Penn State fans, they're not mad that they have Drew Aller by any stretch of the imagination, but they're seeing Bo Prabula play some really good football down here in the SEC, and Drew Aller's definitely struggling with some things. They just killed Villanova this past weekend, but he definitely struggled in that one too. If you watch the game, it wasn't a pretty beat-up on Villanova. Bo Prabula is playing really good football. Number 5, Gunnar Stockton. We're going to give it, might be the first ever and probably only clap it up for a Georgia player, but he impressed me a lot on Saturday. Not going to kill you, but I thought he was going to be significantly worse than Stetson Bennett and Carson Beck, the 2 previous Georgia quarterbacks, and he wasn't at all. He's a very good quarterback. Marcel Reed at 6, a Tennessee guy, a Tennessee native, electric with his feet. Threw for like 360 yards against Notre Dame's defense on not a lot of completions, threw a lot of deep balls, and Texas A&M's receiving core has the best duo, or second best duo in the country, They're not Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. But Mario Carver, who's a stud from Mississippi State, and Casey Concepcion, who we played him last year with NC State. Texas A&M has a team this year, and I know a lot of people won't just because they're Texas A&M. They won't acknowledge it. A&M's got a squad this year. Diego Pavia, I'm not impressed with Diego Pavia. I'm not a hater. I probably am a hater. Sorry about it. I'm just not. Ty Simpson, he got a lot of hate, and kind of, I don't know why, after the Florida State games. Did he struggle a little bit? Yes. But I think Ty Simpson is a fine quarterback. Another guy who's from the state of Tennessee. Garrett Nussmeier at 9. LSU, I think I talked about it again preseason. I think that they're a top 3 team in the country. It's kind of like us last year. They're known for that offense, and LSU still has a good offense. I don't care that they put up 20 points on 5 turnovers, 5 interceptions against DJ Lagway. They still have a very good offense. I trust Garrett Nussmeier a lot, but their defense is crazy this year, man. Mansour Delane was a heck of a get from the transfer portal. Just his man technique. He may not blow up on the athletic charts, but man, he is a real good cornerback. LSU's got a squad. And Lenore Sellers, battling some injury, got knocked out of the Vanderbilt game. I think Lenore Sellers is very, very, very good. And oh wow, breaking news. But he struggles to put a full game together, in my opinion. That's just my little spiel on him. He'll have some plays that you're just like, goodness gracious, how does he do that? It's not like he's just turning the ball over all the time. South Carolina as a whole, it's not just him, struggles to string drives together, in my opinion. That'll probably get cleared up throughout the year. I think South Carolina is still a very good football team. So let's go to 3. That was my little spiel on the SEC. Joey Aguilar, man, we all know how impressive he's been. 906 yards in the air, 10 total touchdowns to 2 picks. Nobody, and Josh Pate just proves it right there, nobody would have thought that. I think Josh Pate had him second to last coming into the year. Nobody would have thought that, and I wouldn't have thought that. You wouldn't have thought that. I don't care what you tell me. But, man, he has been so impressive, and he's not going to regress, and knock on wood here. I can't seem to think that Joey Aguilar is going to regress. I think he just played the best defense that he's going to see all year in Georgia. Physicality-wise and athletic-wise, it doesn't get better than that. It does not get better than Georgia. I think it's only up from here for Joey Aguilar. Just put on, and again, we'll talk about it a little bit. 24 of 36 for 371 yards, 5 total touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We talked about the 2 interceptions on the last episode. Not too worried about those. Joey Aguilar, man, has put the country on notice. And another guy who has just put the country on notice in this Tennessee offense is Chris Brazzell II, man. I talked about it time and time again that this Tennessee offense needed a guy to emerge as that alpha, that clear wide receiver 1, because I feel like truly every good offense in college football, I don't think it's the same for the NFL, kind of like the Bills. I'm a big Bills fan. They don't have a clear-cut number 1 guy. They have a lot of solid guys. But I think in college, if you are going to be one of those upper echelon teams, you've got to have a clear-cut alpha. Chris Brazzell has more than emerged at that. Look, taking a quick look at his stats. 5 touchdowns, that's first in the country. 364 reception yards, that's second in the country. And 2, excuse me, sorry, I still got these allergies. Probably going to take a quick drink of water. It's going all around the University of Tennessee. But 2 catches of 50 yards or more, that is first in the country as well. And his 177 yards versus Georgia was the most by a University of Tennessee wide receiver since Jalen Hyatt in the Alabama game. We all know that legendary performance. But Chris Brazzell, man, Todd McShay, a known NFL draft analyzer, a very knowledgeable guy. I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday, man, and I see CB2, and then I see wide receiver 1, ? And he goes into a deep dive a little bit of his film, talks about how he's been watching his film. He truly believes that Chris Brazzell could be the first receiver taking off the board next April in the NFL draft. Now, I'm not sitting here and going to tell you guys that Chris Brazzell is the best receiver in the country, because he's not. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 receiver taken off the board in April. I think that's Jordan Tyson. I just said that with Arizona State. But man, he has looked really good. And the bosses for the touchdowns and all the things, those look really good. But he broke down some other stuff from that game. Some more intermediate routes, some corner routes. He just looks very fluid. And he kind of did last year. But I always said, man, I felt like he was second-guessing himself. I felt like our whole offense last year, Nico especially, second-guessed himself. But Chris Brazzell's ability to break down at the height of 6'5", it's very impressive. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that he is going to be the first receiver drafted next year, but he did put the country on notice. And I want to ask the question to you guys, where does he rank in I'll say the SEC, I'm not going to say the country, in those receiver rankings? I know a lot of Tennessee fans would like to say he's 1. I don't think he's 1. The first guys that come off the board, or off my head, is Mario Carver from Texas A&M. All 5'9" of them. He has looked crazy impressive. I think both the receivers at Alabama, Jeremy Bernard, who's very under the radar just because of Ryan Williams, has looked incredible. And also Ryan Williams. Those are the first 3 that come to mind. Aaron Anderson at LSU I still think is better as well. But other than that, man, I don't think anybody on Georgia is better. I don't really think him and KC Concepcion's kind of a toss-up. I don't think anybody on Arkansas or Oklahoma is better. So I think I'd have him around that 5 range, somewhere around there. If I'm missing somebody blatantly, let me know in the comments. But I think you could very well make a case that Chris Brazzell is a top 5 receiver in the country. So that's another one, man. Joey Aguilar is going to get all the talk, and Chris Brazzell's got his shine as well. But he has looked equally as impressive and equally as surprising. And so is the rest of this receiver room. This receiver room got a lot of not hate, but just a lot of people in the offseason were saying how this receiver room can't do this, can't live up to this, that, and the other. Mike Matthews looked good and handled the physicality against Georgia well. Braylon Staley has looked great, especially in 2 of the 3 games. Obviously Syracuse, and then this past weekend, 9 catches for 90-plus yards and a touchdown. The receiving core is far, I think more than anybody, succeeding expectations, and that's awesome to see because we know we can run the ball. Did they struggle to run the ball a little bit against Georgia? Yes, but they're going to be all right. Now, on the defensive side of the football, everybody was excited for this defense coming into the year. They still don't have their best player in Jermon McCoy, who's the best player on this team. Arion Carter, though, 27 tackles on the year, leads the SEC, and Joshua Josephs, 3 sacks, also leads the SEC, first in the SEC. So big props to those guys. I think this defense is going to get better and better as the year goes on. The healthier everybody gets, the better they're going to be. Excuse me. I think Jermon McCoy coming back is just going to do absolute wonders. If he is even a fraction of what he was last year, he is going to be a huge difference maker. I'm excited to see kind of when he comes back and how much of a, not how much of a difference maker, but how close is he to 100% when he comes back. They're obviously going to take their time with that, but where does he match up compared to where he was last year? I think he very well could be better. I definitely think that. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. You guys know how I feel about Jermon McCoy. So excited for him to get back and healthy. Jackson Moy as well. David Hobbs as well. 2 big names and 2 big pieces to that defensive line. So, again, I think this defensive line and the defense as a whole is going to get better and better as the season goes on. And I think, to kind of wrap it up, it really baffles me. I was sitting in class thinking about it today, how impressive this Tennessee football team has looked through 3 weeks. Obviously, you beat up on ETSU, which you should every year. Syracuse, I don't think Syracuse is a crazy good football team, but man, you looked so good against Syracuse. And then last weekend, again, I'm not in the world of moral victories whatsoever, but it's hard not to take a lot of good away from how you competed with Georgia for 60 minutes of a football game, and it was the best you've played Georgia in over 8 years, and this was supposed to be one of your down years, especially within the Josh Heupel era. So I think that's going to all but wrap it up for today's episode. I really do appreciate you guys joining me on this Thursday. Let me know down in the comments, who are some names that you are just very surprised by? Not a Joey Aguilar, not a Chris Brazzell, because we know those. Just names some guys that you've seen play really good football this year. Let me know that in the comments. Make sure you guys subscribe, again, leave a comment, and share. All that is greatly appreciated. I appreciate you guys for joining me on this Thursday edition, and go Vols.